All right. Here you go.
Hey, everybody. It's Karen Anderson here with Aortic for your week in review. Actually, you're 2 weeks in review because I was not here last week. So we have so much information to get to. But before we get started, I'm going to ask you to please click that like button, click the subscribe button, hit the little bell, because then you'll be notified every time we go live. And we go live for so many things. We talk about all of the posts that we've had up over the last week or two. We have survivors that are bold enough to tell their stories live and would love to take questions from you. We interview doctors and a variety of other practitioners, and they are also available to take questions from you live. And sometimes we just hop on here and have some fun. So click subscribe so you're notified of every time we do that. And I don't know who's going to join us today, Josh. We could have a couple guest speakers. Could be fun seeing people pop in and pop out. Don't know.
Always fun.
But it's always fun. But for spring, we did do a contest we posted today, asking a lot of people to subscribe to our channel. Look at that. We've got
There's our
somebody
first.
hopping on right now. Hopping on right now. Better late than never. I think we've got Diane Bishop joining us. We shall see. While we wait for her to join us, we're going to talk about a lot of different things that happened over the last 2 weeks, events and great articles. And we'll wait to see if Diane hops on with us here. And any of you that are out there and would like to leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you, get an idea on what your thoughts are. And let's just take it away. Away we go.
What in the world?
What in the world, girl?
What's wrong with me?
You have to tell me. I'm about to read Medical Monday. What is wrong with you?
I don't know. I'm not
I don't know.
in good, guys.
I don't know.
Her camera's
The
not
struggle.
on.
Your camera's not on. That's why I didn't know you joined.
Okay, well, let me see what I could do.
That works?
Better?
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Karen's going to
she
have to
is.
find her. There you go.
There
Okay,
she
y'all got
is.
me. Hello,
Well-
my beautiful people.
Hi. How are you? It's been 2 weeks. We've got a lot to chat about.
Yes, we do.
We ready to roll?
We're rolling. Let's go.
Let's roll.
Let's roll.
Medical Monday. This was like 2 weeks ago. And in honor of Women in History Month, which is right now in the month of March, we wanted to share with you a woman who made a huge contribution in the medical field. I know we've talked about her before, but as noted in the National Institute of Health, Dr. Margaret Allen entered the University of California, San Diego Medical School, knowing that she liked learning how things worked. She liked to fix problems, and she liked to work with her hands. So a career in cardiothoracic surgery seemed like a natural for her. And Assumption later born out of 1985 when working at Stanford University as a resident with famed cardiac pioneer Dr. Norman Shimway, she became the first female surgeon in the United States to transplant a heart. Way to go, Women in History Month. So if you want to learn more about Dr. Allen, you should click the link. But I always think it's wonderful to bring her up, mainly because she was the first female in the U.S.
She was going to mention that she's been having some troubles with her internet, and she forgot to say so.
Yes.
And so,
Whoopsie.
yeah, we'll see if she comes
Yeah.
back. There she is. She made it back.
I'm coming back. Here's the problem. I'm having some network connectivity issues. So I'm probably going to have to launch from my phone today until I'm able to get the Comcast Fios, whatever they are, to
She just
check out
blamed
what's going on. So if I
every
leave you
internet
again, I
service
will
provider.
rejoin from my phone. I know. If I leave again, I'm joining from the phone. So hopefully you can hear me. But this was about Dr. Margaret Allen. Again, transplanted a heart, first female in the U.S., which is kind of cool. So
Nice.
sorry for my technical difficulties. Bear with me because it probably will happen again. You know, those little leprechauns, once they come into your computer, they don't like to leave. Happens. All right. We're going to move on to something that we can both kind of chit chat about. And this was Topic Tuesday. This was talking about pain. Pain. Everyone describes pain differently. And we have shared this very well-known pain chart. And I think it's important people think, I don't think that people think that they're in pain until they actually look at a chart. I can't tell you how many people I've been in the ER with, and I'll say, "Are you in pain?" And they're no, not really. And then they look at the pain chart and they see this chart right here. They see how it describes what they're feeling, and they realize, oh gosh, maybe I am not managing this very well. Maybe I am actually a 7, even though I think it's not so bad. And I love that's why hospitals, you've seen it, Diane, the little pain charts with the smiley face, the like face or whatever.
All
So
the time.
I think it's all the time, right? And sometimes when they ask me how much pain I'm in, I look over at that chart and I'm just thinking, you don't even have a number for it on your chart. I'm like in burgundy. I'm beyond deep red. I'm like in purple. But a lot of times people just don't want to admit the pain that they're in. When they view the chart, though, these charts, whether you have this one or you have the little faces, they actually they may actually find a better way to define the pain that they're feeling, and they may realize that they're actually in a significant degree more of pain as defined by medical personnel, and that's why they have these charts. I always thought it was to help children, but it's actually to help adults feel comfortable articulating their pain.
Right.
So, but we also wanted to bring you a little bit of levity and sharing you this pain chart. And I don't know if you can see this that well because I don't even have my glasses, but this is the pain scale and the different faces that they have here. And I just have to read. I think it's so funny. So, for instance, let's start low with like 0. Okay. It says, I'm not really experiencing any pain at all. I don't even know why I'm here. So I think that one's kind of comical. And it'll go to the next one. Number 1, I am completely unsure whether I'm experiencing pain or itching, or maybe I'm just here because I have a bad taste in my mouth. All right,
Ooh.
we're starting to have a little bit of a grimace on number 2. I think I might just need a Band-Aid. And I feel like I've felt like this before. Okay, so it's going to go all the way up to severity. And of course, I'm trying to see this over my computer screen, but bear with me. Okay, so like number 7 says, it makes me laugh. Number 7 says, I see Jesus coming for me and I'm scared. I think I've been in that pain level before.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, right? If they had this as your pain scale, how funny would it be? I love looking over my computer like this. But so number 11 basically says, I think he's going to explode out of my face. I'm in so much pain. So when you have a little bit more of a comical pain chart, I think it does make it easier for people to express their pain. I don't know. What do you think?
It does help, but I mean, I don't know about you, Karen, or anybody else. I'm just saying, when I'm in pain and they want to tell you, well, where is the pain coming from? Where do you hurt? Well, I'm hurting over here, like, okay, my chest going to my back. Okay, is it a burning pain? Is it a sharp pain? Is it does it come and go? It's just like, man, I just heard you're the doctor. Okay, I'm hurting. I'm having chest pains. Okay. Okay. The pain down your arm. Is it affecting your fingers? Is it doing this? When I'm in pain, I think I always feel okay. Figure out what's hurting. Okay, patient has chest pains or what have you. You know, the history. Please give the person something to make them comfortable so they can think.
Yeah.
And maybe better explain to you. Because
Yeah.
I myself cannot focus. Like, especially if I'm having chest pains, I don't know about you, but I'll be out of breath. And you can't talk and they say, excuse me, ma'am, what was it? It's just like, hold on a minute, it's frustrating to me sometimes. And now with the opic epidemic, may I speak about that for a minute? It's very difficult for those who really have to have pain medication to actually need it. Despite of all that, I mean, it's great things that they're doing, but those people that actually are on pain is harder for them. Seems like they could do something a little bit easier because it's more difficult to get something for pain. I've had a tooth extracted and they gave me 0.5 milligrams. Now, mind you, my tooth was absent, but they gave me 3 of them. Okay, what do you want me to do with this now?
Right.
know
Well,
what
and
I'm saying?
I think it's like hospital to hospital because I'll hear people in the community talk about when they go in and they say they're in pain, they want to give them a Tylenol because we know we're not really supposed to take Advil, although some,
Uh-huh.
we can take an Advil.
Right.
Better to not be in pain if that's all you have, and you
Yeah.
discuss it with your doctor. But I think certain hospitals, depending where they are in the country, just will not give any narcotics, period. They just won't. Whereas, my hospital, and maybe it's just, I think there's a lot of I think it's very, what's the word, I can't think of, discriminatory. I think it's very judgmental, and I think they
Mhm.
look at you, they try to assess you and look at your history. Is this person just
Yep.
coming in for drugs? I mean, at least that's what they do
Right.
on TV. And with
Mhm.
me, every time I would go in when I had Crohn's pain or in the beginning after dissection and I was uncomfortable, I actually felt awkward because you're going there for pain relief so you can make some sense. And you feel like when they say to you, well, what really usually works for you? And I'm telling them, well, fentanyl or Dilaudid. And it's like, I immediately wonder, are they judging me? And I understand there is an opioid epidemic. And I understand that they are going to kind of assess your situation. But again, they also have to take you out of pain. So I can't imagine being
Exactly.
medical personnel and being put in that kind of position as well, because there are a lot of people just seeking the drugs. But again, I think this is where the pain scale is helpful. And I do understand what you're saying when a physician will say, well, is it sharp? Does it come and go? Does it move? Because it really makes a lot of difference. Unfortunately, in this country, we just can't put everybody into a CT scan, even if we have
Yeah.
a history. You know what I mean? They just won't do it. Insurance, it's like ridiculous. So they're trying to determine, does it migrate? Can you replicate it? Because it's probably gas. It could be muscular. So they're trying to get a little bit more because, again, we're asking a doctor to have x-ray vision and kind of see through us based upon our descriptions. So it's what a hard job. you know
We have a
Well,
comment.
we have comments.
let's hear that.
All right, first off, let's say hi, Felicia.
Hello.
She says, agreed. Asking me to answer questions when I'm in pain brings out another side of me.
Oh, yes. Me too,
Br-
hon.
Brings out a demon. It's like,
Yes.
ask
And then
me.
they wonder why your blood pressure is high. When you're
Yes,
in pain, it automatically
of
elevates you.
course.
But then they start asking you questions enough to, can I say, piss off? But
Say
it
it.
does makes you
It does.
angry. And then there you are in pain. If I wish doctors, physicians, healthcare people would understand that if they could keep you out of pain, they could get more out of you.
True.
And I feel like they should target that first, and then let's work on this or something.
Right. So thank you for that comment. That's so true. And I think all of
Right.
us feel that way, especially in this community. We're going in pain and we're scared. So anxiety is up. We're in a heightened state of alert, and that can create more pain. And we're just like, wait, just give me something. Just put it in the IV, and then I can answer all your questions with that truth
Right.
serum. Once I feel good, I'll tell you every migrating, it's sharp, it's everything. But yeah, it's a little tough.
Yeah,
Tough. It's
it
irritating.
is.
They make it worse sometimes, but like it's so hard. They're in this hard place. So I kind of sort of get it. I get it. All right. We're going to move on. So the next one that popped up in that week was Therapeutic Thursday. And so this is titled Don't Overwhelm Yourself for Therapeutic Thursday. So Jess McCracken is now our blogger on Thursdays and Fridays. And so this message on this particular Thursday was really geared towards survivors and caregivers and anybody else actually that follows our page. But we're just going to look at the quote for a second. And
Okay.
it says, don't overwhelm yourself. Just do what you can do right now, Diane Bishop. Practice, practice focusing on what truly matters and letting go of what does not. Use your frustrations to motivate you rather than to annoy you, Karen Anderson. You are in control of your focus and how you choose to allocate your energy today. And this is such a great quote. Like, I should have this on a post-it note around my house. I should. So she says, Jess says, this advice is perfect and just don't overwhelm yourself, period. She's been working very hard being in the present moment and finding joy in the simple things and letting go of what she can't control. And if something annoys her or angers her, she'll often ask herself, what is this trying to actually teach me? More kudos to her for having that patience. My brain
Right.
Even after taking mindfulness has not caught up to take a second. No, I can be extremely reactive, which is it's not useful. But so when you look at an event or situation or people that challenge us or challenge to test you with an idea that their actions or behaviors are a reflection of them and not you, that's really a game changer. And I've read quotes like that a lot, that someone's reactions are really more of a reflection of them and less about anything that you're doing. So for survivors, for today, try to focus on the advice that's in that quote. Put your hand to your heart and remind yourself you're still here. Be grateful to have air filling your lungs and a powerful heart pushing blood through your battered aorta. I mean, and it's battered and healed. So, yeah, let's take a look at this quote one more time. Let's chat about it without me adding any extra insight. Hi, puppy. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just do what you can right now. Practice focusing on what truly matters and letting go of what does not. Use your frustrations to motivate you rather than annoy you. You are
Mhm.
in control of your focus and how you choose to allocate your energy today. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel, Diane?
How does it make me feel? Okay, um I've gotten real good of walking away from things. The only problem is, for example, like what we're doing the inside of our place and putting in new floor, and then my husband is uh he worries so much about everything. And well, we gotta do this. And we gotta get a new dryer. Let me put it in his sense, Karen. I had to get a new dryer. I got to cut the grass. That floor gotta wait for a week or two and stuff. And I says, Ricky, I know what all has to be done, but why are you talking about it now when you're not gonna do nothing about it now?
Right.
Um, in his sense, and when you're a couple, it's hard because sometimes their negativity will get up on you. But I have literally walked away. I've gone into the cabin or something, and I've literally told them, look, I can't talk about this. You upset me. I've literally told him, you upset me. We're not working on that right now. Let's concentrate on the floor. We're not working on this weekend, so just don't worry about it right now. We'll get
Mm-hmm.
someone to help us. So sometimes with me, if I could stay away from people with the negativity, because they will tend to bring you down. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and you run into that everywhere you go. But I've learned, to tell him nicely and bless his heart. I mean, he's got a lot of issues himself, as you know, and I tried to be some sympathetic with him and to tell him, don't worry about it right now. We'll do this, we'll do that, or whatever. Yeah, but this. I says, there's always a but. We may not wake up in the morning. I tell him, live in the moment, Ricky. I've
Mm-hmm.
learned. I've seriously have learned. I mean, the biggest thing that I might do is lay something out for supper. And that's as far as I go. And for yourself, Karen, with me, I just go with the flow. I'm not schedule point for point 2 minutes late. Oh my God, I gotta go. I just take it by stride, by my stride now, not nobody else's, because you got to do and what's good for you and go at your pace.
Mm-hmm.
We got this
Right.
second chance at life, let this adjust to you and
Mm-hmm.
let the other people help you.
Right.
How you
I
been
I
doing?
agree. I
Yes.
agree. I agree. And I find a lot of times there's so many different types of people, and I
Mm.
think the hardest for me to understand are the Eeyores. Like everything is just so bad, and I realize that people don't necessarily want to be uplifted or want to hear a suggestion. They just want to hear themselves, and that's so hard for me. It's like, oh my God, it drives me nuts because all I want to do is provide a solution. And I think one of the hardest things for me, and I'm 53, so it's many years of being who I am, is just they don't want it. And so
Mm.
I I realize I don't have to take on everybody's everything, and it's okay. There's still a place for me in heaven if I don't take on everybody's everything. You know what I mean? And that's where it is. I choose where to allocate my energy. And there are many days where I allocate my energy to my recliner and my DVR shows. And I feel really good about it. Because I need it. I need it makes me happy.
Yeah.
And I'm getting more into reading books, which I've never been a person to go to bed and then turn the light on and read a book. It just feels so weird. But I'm enjoying my time with myself and laughing out loud and just saying, I'm done. I'm done here. And
Sure.
you're right. There are times where I'll like, oh my gosh, this went up, this post went up and it had a spelling error, or it didn't make it up. I put 10 p.m. And I'm like, nobody's going to be thinking about this. Nobody's
Mm-mm.
going to be judging me. And if they are, I don't know who they are and I don't really care. It's the message. It's not the timing. The world will still turn on its access,
That's
you know what
right.
I mean? So,
That's
and I'll have conversations with Josh, and sometimes he and other people will say to me, I don't know why this upsets you so much. And when I hear that, I sometimes it's like you picture a wheel spinning and someone sticks a spoke or a wrench, a stick,
uh-huh.
and the wheel just goes. Arr! That's what it feels like in my head because I think, why aren't you guys upset about this? But then I realize there's more of them and there's just me. It's got to be in me. So I have to take a minute and I have to think, why am I really so upset? Like, why? What is all this
Oh,
energy? It's
I do.
crazy.
I know what you're talking about. It's called projection.
Yeah. It's called a what?
It's called projection.
I
Project.
project.
Yeah. When you're like if you're slightly upset and you read an email, because you're slightly upset, you add a slightly upset tone to it, right? And so now
Uh-huh.
let's just say that that's a little bit of kindling for the fire. Then you go to another email, right? And now you're simmering. And you've added that simmering to this next email, okay? And now you've got a little bit of a fire going, and you go to a new email, okay? And you've brought that energy with you, and you're looking at this email, and this
Mhm.
person might as well be screaming at you for no reason
Right.
whatsoever,
Yeah.
okay? And now you're at bonfire level, right? And so that's how projection works. And one of the
Yeah.
things that I found is I let my computer read things to me a lot in a
Yeah. You
nice
did
neutral
say that to
tone,
me.
right? So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what it is that it's going on. Like I might be frustrated for any number of reasons, but because, the robot's like, hello, I was wondering if maybe you could find this JPEG for me. I seem to have lost it. I don't put anything in there. It's just this
Right.
nice dumb robot asking me a dumb question. And
Uh-huh.
and I don't attribute that to my clients. I'm just like, yeah, okay, let me see what I can do to help.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
if I'm already teed up and it's like, hey, where's this JPEG? That's a very, very different response.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think women are very guilty of doing that. And that's like, Diane, you and I will call each other because I'm very much into, I want to hear somebody's voice. I hate trying to work through things in text
Mm-hmm.
or written form because for
Right.
the same reason of what Josh is saying, you end up putting all this energy into the baggage you bring into it. Even if you try so hard, inevitably you have no choice but to read it based upon your brain, and your brain had its own experiences. So that could be tone, even if you don't want to. You just read it that way. So I
Right.
prefer to pick up the phone. I'd much rather hear somebody's voice than me guess what it says.
Yeah.
But I think we're all can be guilty. But I do think it's more amongst women that we tend to add a lot more emotion into what we read, and maybe some do it even in what they hear, even in what they hear you say. They
Right.
still apply their experience, whether negative or positive, it's typically
Mm-hmm.
negative. And then there becomes this huge volcanic eruption, and you're like, I just walked in the room and exhaled. What did I do? I walked into
Yeah.
something. It's crazy.
Good
So,
stuff.
again, as it says here, use your frustrations to motivate you rather than annoy you.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know, I
Well,
love that idea of having your computer read it to you. That's brilliant.
Also
mm-hmm.
lazy. Don't forget the lazy part about that. Let's say hi to some
Lazy.
people. We've got some people here that jumped into the chat. All right, I got to scroll back up because we've been chit-chatting. All right, so
Hey,
Karen Heichel jumped in. Hello, Karen. Rob Seltzer, hi
Karen.
guys.
Hey, Rob.
Bo is here.
Bo.
Oh, a bow.
Bo says, I thank God every single day. And we gave him prayer hands for that. Then he said,
Yes.
I just got motivated and cut my front grass that wore my battery down. LOL. And we're going to make fun of Bo for using LOL.
Boo Bo.
Right?
Bo Boo. That's great though. It's great that you got motivated and you did it. As
Right.
long as you're doing what you're told you can do, way to go.
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
so I
Love
asked,
that.
how long were you out there? And then I said, is it spring already?
Yes.
Felicia says, I'm
Right.
working to be present in the moment.
Isn't it? Isn't it crazy to say that it's a work? But look at this life. Okay, let's look at when we were younger. And Felicia, I have no idea how old you are, so if you're not, just pretend. Remember the days when we used to write a note and leave it in someone's locker? We took the time to write something based upon what we saw going around us, and then we got one in return and we read it. This
Mhm.
is like instantaneous text message, chats, this chats. There's no time to just be in that moment. We're just running and being inundated with stuff coming at you from all areas. And being present in the moment is probably a very hard thing to do.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, but I tended to do it a lot more easy when I was right away in recovery, because what did you do? You just laid on the sofa. That's all you could do, was be present in the moment. And that was kind of also scary because you were present with your thoughts. But I think that this community, as well as some other medical communities, have been forced to be present in the moment, which is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Mhm.
Right?
Hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Um, Karen
Yeah.
says, I still have 3 feet of snow in my yard, right?
Ooh.
So I responded to Felicia. I said, mindfulness is a great tool for practicing being in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rob had a comment and he said, I
Yeah.
got morphine without a problem.
Yeah, I didn't have problems
Wow.
either, but I feel like maybe I'm gonna have a problem. But
Hmm.
again, certain places in the country.
Right.
Mhm. Oh
And I
yeah.
just I just responded to Rob with Florida man. So
It's certain, and it's also certain ages. It's also certain ages and certain
Yeah.
conditions. I would go to the hospital a lot with Crohn's
Mhm.
disease prior to dissection. So I was habitual, and many people in that community are like, I went to the ER, I'm doubled over with a blockage, and they won't give me anything. And then it's just amazing. They're like, I've been here too many times this month. It's like,
Wow.
I don't know. I got nothing.
right.
It's very frustrating.
All right. So
Very
I was
frustrating.
like, right, Karen Snow, she's got 3 feet up there. Felicia said she's been looking for a mindfulness program, and I said we have a community member who teaches mindfulness. And then I grabbed that link for her. That's mindfulnesskeen.org/events, and you can see how that rolls out.
Yeah.
And then you
Mhm.
can reach out to Tom at
Yes.
tombassereer@mindfulness.com.
Mhm.
So, that's a big thing. Bo tells us that
Yep.
today is the first day of spring.
It is. It is. And we actually put up a post with a couple
Is it
contests,
really?
whether you're
Because
in,
he just said nope,
yeah.
and then he did the LOL thing at me again.
Oh, it's just not, it's nope because maybe it's not in his weather, but technically it is. And we
Mhm.
have a contest on Facebook and on Instagram that ties into subscribing to our YouTube channel. And so the first 10 that are new subscribers to our YouTube channel are receiving a prize. We're working out those details with Josh after here. But yeah, it's the first day of spring. I'll tell you what, it's like 50 some degrees here and sunny, not a cloud in the sky. I'll take it.
Right
Beautiful.
on, right on. So Rob tells us that tomorrow is his first day anniversary.
Well,
Happy.
happy anniversary to
Right?
you.
Big applause
Yeah.
Yeah.
there. As
Get
they
a
say
singing
across the
telegram.
pond, big ups, Rob, big ups.
All right. That's
So
awesome.
he's currently sitting in the dentist waiting room. We'll have to sign
Oh,
off in a few minutes.
you have fun with that. You have a good time. That's one place I hate going, the dentist.
He also clarified you need to have a pain level over 6 to get
To get medication?
morphine.
Mm,
Wow.
Again,
interesting.
Florida man.
The Florida man.
Right. True. All
Mm.
right. We are moving on. Another Jess McBez or Jess McCracken, her Feel Good Friday post. And she was talking about friends. And here's another quote. It's the friends we meet along the way that makes us appreciate the journey. So friends are a very much a feel good topic. And if you aren't feeling motivated, uplifted, and inspired after you've talked to or hung up or hung out with your friends, there might be a problem. And that's true. Lately, she's been doing a lot of thinking about who really has her best interest at heart, because let's get real, supporting a survivor of death, which, if you've had a dissection, I think that not many people would argue with you on that terminology. It means that you have a lot of patients and understand the terrible trauma that us as survivors that we've been through. And the article from the Mayo Clinic titled Friendships Enrich Your Life and Improve Your Health really gives a ton of information and knowledge that helps you realize how important friends are. And she really loved the part that talks about quality over quantity. And one of the things that she says, and I totally relate to this, is that 4 quarters are much more valuable than 100 pennies. And so what that really means is that a deeper, more meaningful connection with 4 soul family members is much more beneficial than having 100 connections with just friends and acquaintances. And she calls them her soul sisters or her sparkle sisters. So on Feel Good Friday, we ask people to share the post and to thank those beautiful souls that are in your lives that lift you up and cheer you on and basically truly want the very best for you. And be sure to connect with those friends that are more like family and tell them that you love them. I know Diane and I say I love you all the time whenever
All
we
the
talk,
time.
all the
All the
time, because,
time.
and look, life's too short. You should express how you feel.
Right.
And I
Mhm.
totally agree with this. 4 quarters sometimes is just more beneficial than 100 pennies.
That's right.
Quality over quantity, as they say.
Hey, Karen,
Hey,
that's,
Diane.
darling, that's more of a reason for folks to get out there and attend one of these Rock from the Heart events.
Great
Yeah,
segue. You go, girl.
exactly. Bing, bada boom. I mean, you meet people. Uh, it's a time to at the symposium to get educated, and you get to talk and hang out with folks, and a time to have fun. But you actually connect with people from around the world, and you realize you're not alone, and it means so much. So I encourage one of you out there, attend at least just one. We have Baltimore, Maryland coming up with Night Ranger, and then in North Dakota, Sebastian Bach for the Rockers. And we will be there attending them events. And I, if anyone having trouble getting there, please contact Amy Johnson. And I think for 2 weeks they're having a BOGO sale. Is that right, Karen?
I think that might end on I don't know if it ends on the 31st, but it is on right now. So the buy one, get one is for specific concert tickets at the Hippodrome in Baltimore, Maryland. So it
Yes.
does not pertain to the actual symposium or dinner, which is free for Survivor, but
Mm-hmm.
not for your companion. However, those, as Diane was mentioning, these are great events where you have an opportunity to connect with other survivors, with other caregivers, and just to have some one-on-ones with the doctors and the
Exactly.
practitioners that are presenting. And we're talking about a wide variety of topics. And each time I have come away learning something else that's new. I mean, immediately following the speakers, just to have a chance to meander around and talk, and there's raffles and giveaways. It's so much fun
So
from the moment
fun.
it starts. And the
It is.
concerts are great, and the pre-party is wonderful. And just again, it all comes down to education and connection is really what it's about. And while we will not, no one from Aortic, I don't think anyone from Aortic Hope will be in North Dakota. We are obviously going to have our big presence here in Baltimore. And yeah, now's the time. If you want to order your concert tickets, there's not a bad seat in the house at the Hippodrome. Take it from
Mm.
me. I have seasonal tickets every single year because I love the theater, and every seat is phenomenal. So
Mhm.
whether it's just concert or if you want to go to the symposium and concert, if you can't attend the symposium, at least register virtually. Get the information.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So one good way that you can have a chance to make friends, and we will be talking about another way in just a few moments, something that we did for the first time this past week. We're going to talk about it.
Mhm.
All right, this past week, we had a Survivor Series, a live Survivor Series with community member and author Scott Pribble. So if you haven't had a chance to view that, you can on our YouTube channel. So Scott was born and raised in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and after graduating University of Wisconsin, Green Bay with a major in marketing and market research, Scott went on to obtain his master's degree in marketing from UW-Madison. Scott has held marketing management and director positions with 3 Fortune 500 firms and engaged in a lot of public speaking. Scott lived a life that included weightlifting, and we're talking heavy weightlifting, international powerlifting, all while enduring high blood pressure. high blood pressure. And he shared with everyone his incredible story of surviving an emergency type A and residual type B dissection, and how he became an author of 2 books, Miracle Man, Beating the Odds, Cheating Death, and Lose Weight, Get Fit Easy. So that is a survivor story that you should check out. And you can also get a chance to listen to the question and answer period that took place afterwards. And that leads us right into talking about survivor stories and being part of this survivor series. On certain Saturdays in the month, we will be sharing these stories, but then there's also days during the week when people pop up to do these live events. But we are asking everyone, be the shining star in someone's life by submitting your story of survival. Now, you can share this one of 3 ways. You can share it in a written format. You can do a pre-recorded video that can include costume changes. I don't care. Your animal can run by. It doesn't matter. It's your story. It's your way. Share it however you want. Or you can go live and then have an opportunity to interact with the community. But we are really interested in knowing about the symptoms that you felt, that you were experiencing, and the process of diagnosis. And moving forward, we're also going to be very interested in knowing, since your event, have you been genetically tested, or has your family members been genetically tested, or are they being monitored diagnostically? This all leads into Think Aorta, Think Family, which we will talk about in a few moments. But it's really important for us to have an opportunity to share your stories with Think Aorta US, another nonprofit here in the US, to discuss it so that first responders and physicians learn those successful stories where people were diagnosed timely and properly, and also learn from mistakes that were made when patients were sent home too soon. So we need you to share your story of survival. It's important, folks.
Very important.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Share With You Sunday. Getting into some of the lighter topics here, and we wanted to remind you and highlight our collaboration with Lauren's Hope. So it's important to consider wearing a medical alert bracelet or dog tags around your neck, some form of visual notification to a first responder that there might be a situation. It's usually indicated by that medical alert symbol. It really will help a first responder kind of treat you accordingly based upon the information that you have on the back of your tag. And Lawrence Hope always offers generous discounts all the time. However, when you make a purchase using the link that's in the post here, we will actually receive a small portion of the sale, and 100% of the money that we use are given back to the community for our initiatives. So what is great also about Lawrence Hope is that they have a free shopping service. So you can call them, give them an idea, say, I prefer silver tone, I prefer gem tone, I need something hypoallergenic. I don't know what to write on the back of my tag. Do I write all my allergies out? What's ICE mean? ICE means in case of emergency. They are now so well versed on the acronyms for the aortic disease community because they collaborated with EMTs in trying to figure out how they can get the most important information on the back of the tags. So I suggest that you utilize that free service in figuring out what's going to work best for you based on your situation. Do you have one of these, Diane?
I do.
Good for you.
I have mine, but to be honest, the only time I wear it is whenever I go out, like for a long period of time or whatever. Yeah. But I do have a bracelet, and I do carry my card from. It's a card that you get whenever you have your valve replaced. It's crazy. I don't know if you ever seen them, Karen. I'll have to show you next time around, but it looks like a driver's license. But I carry that with me everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I do have them.
Important.
And
That's great.
helpful.
Yeah.
And I have my help belt. I have my aortic hope magnet. I have my aortic hope t-shirt, my ornaments, everything. And for those of you out there, consider just stay with us and you'll learn so much more. Aortic Hope is a wonderful organization, and they only gotten bigger and better, and they're only gonna get bigger and stronger. Wow.
I love you.
I love you.
You're a walking commercial. All right, let's move on because we still have another whole week to talk about. And it was Medical Monday. And sorry.
Let's catch up with some of the chat here.
What do we got?
Right, right. All right,
Chats.
so since we left off, Bruce
Yep.
Waldrop has dropped into the chat,
Yay. Hey,
right? Hello,
Bruce.
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 Right? Uh, um, it turns out that Rob's going to be going into the dentist. I just want to remind everybody of that. So he just dropped out of chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh, Karen says technically spring doesn't start until 4:27 CDT. Right?
So, I
So
mean, not even till 5 p.m. tonight
I'm
or
not sure.
something.
I was like, how's that, Karen? She's not getting back to me yet. Bruce says, I
That's
hope
crazy.
everyone is doing great. Bo says, hey, I'm old. I don't know all the new lingo because I'm making fun of his use of LOL. Right? And
That's
I
so
said,
funny.
it's cute, Bo. You keep doing it, bruv.
That's
uh,
great.
Bruce says, I hope everyone is doing great. And then I
We're doing
tell,
good.
right? And then
You
I tell Bo, emojis, Bo. You branch out into emojis, and we'll be bringing you along. Bruce
Yep.
says, there's one thing that bothers me. And let me get to that part of the thread here. Just bear with me for 1 second.
Okay.
Bo shares with us that his best friend of 56 years found out on Friday that he has lung cancer. So now we both have
Mm.
cancer and we're going to fight this cancer together.
Yes, you
I
are.
said, Bo, you have a
Yes, you
battle
are.
buddy. Are you farther along than he is? He says, yes, I am. So we're going to hope that Bo takes good care of his buddy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Bruce says, there's one thing that really bothers me when it comes to the information. And I'm like, what's that, Bruce? And he says, the lack of information on how dissection impacts the kids of survivors. And I said, you're not wrong. I go, we drive hashtag think aorta, think family, pushing to get family members tested and monitored appropriately. And then I said, perhaps a children's book. This happened to Daddy, an aortic dissection story. And Bruce says, bum, 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 that basically saying that in some ways that the impact on kids doesn't matter and that's wrong. And I said, I'm not sure I'm following, Bruce. He says, by not having much information about that says kids of survivors don't matter. Bo says, I already shared my story because we were just talking about Share Saturday. Bo always lets us know that he shared his story.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And so I said, we appreciate your story, Bo. We can't wait to capture the next chapter. And then I said, Bruce, perhaps share with us what you would like to see more of. And Bruce says, I simply don't want more research to be done on the impact of a parent or guardian who survived a dissection. I simply don't
Okay.
want more research to be done on the impact of a parent or guardian who survived a dissection. And I'm not sure
Well,
what that
so
means. So,
yeah,
yeah.
Bruce and I have talked about this before, and
Okay,
what's
you got some.
interesting, yeah, there was an attempt years ago, and I'm not sure if you remember this, Diane. There was an attempt by a well-known community member named Timo Sunderland, who actually created Lady Aorta that we've probably seen in the community, where the aorta kind of looks like a female animated or cartoon character wearing a dress, which is the graft. And I guess it's her boyfriend, Mr. Hart. And there was an attempt to make a children's story to kind of explain what has happened. And I think what ended up happening is there was probably too many people that put their input in. And so we could not tell, did this book cater to toddlers? But why would a toddler need to understand the intricacies of a CT scan and medication? That became now more teenage years. So it never really got anywhere that I'm aware of. Since then, there has been conversations with a therapist in the community, and I'm going to not get into great detail with names or anything because it's still in the works, where there would be a book about bravery that could go, generally speaking, for children that have parents or guardians who are going through life-changing diseases or injuries or something of that nature, and how it does impact kids, how just touching their parent might be off limits for a period of time, and how brave it is that the child can understand that and withhold from that, or whatever the case may be. And I kind of like the tone of that a lot. Do I think that there would be merit in maybe working with a therapist to come up with a book like What's Happened to My Mom, or What's Happened to My Dad, or really just What's Happened to My Parent is probably what it should be called. And we have to think about the age group that you're focusing on. And I do think that
Right.
there is some merit in explaining, because we can't lift them, because if they weigh a certain amount, we're not going to be able to lift them. And those are the types of things I think that really impact the small children, is this obvious change in relationship and interaction. And,
Mhm.
I don't think that children understand that their parent almost died, and they shouldn't understand that, but the teens do. Now you're into another book of the awareness that the mortality. But even then, with my own child, with some other children, young adults, if they've had a parent who's been chronically ill, they look at their parents as if they're immortal. I think we all do. At 25, when my father had a heart attack at 45 or 47, I wasn't concerned that anything bad could happen, because the idea of him passing was like, that's just never going to happen. But there are children with a variety of different learning. Some have learning differences, some have emotional challenges. And so there's a whole gamut of where we could take this. But I would agree with Bruce that I do not think in this community right now enough is being talked about to acknowledge the feelings of the children, whether they're teens or younger, because now teens are going to start to realize, when they start hearing things like genetics and hereditary, it's very jarring. It's very scary for them to think, oh God, am I going to have my chest cracked open? I mean, at 25, I started seeing a cardiologist thinking, I don't want to have a heart attack. It looks like it hurt really bad. So I think there's room for us to grow, and things that we could probably put on the table as an initiative in the future.
Yeah, but Karen, it's very true. We need to somehow figure out how to, you know, include the children in it. But you also got to consider now the age of the child, and at what age is appropriate to discuss certain like words, or how far do you want to describe to them or explain to them, because to me, no little kid is going to want to sit there like K-Bug's age,
Yeah.
7 years old, want to know about genetics and stuff like that. To me, like for little bitty kids, maybe, well, this happened to mom and daddy, she got sick, with the heart or whatever, maybe things that they could do to help, and what's normal, what's not normal, because um, for me, I get very irritable when I'm sick, and very irritable. And I know when somebody's sick, they're not the best friendly person to be around. So maybe let them know it's okay. But like for teenagers, you could get into more technical format.
Hmm.
You understand what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Because
Oh,
a
sure.
little kid. But I want to tell you this also now. The very first time I dissected, and I was in intensive care. I came out and they were seeing, I was seeing if everything's going to turn out okay. And they let the family come in all at once. And my husband told me all you could see is my face, despite of all the tube and everything. Everybody came and gave me a kiss,
Hmm.
like on the head. When it came to one of my sons, and in his 20s, he like just kept on like looking for him like that. He says, "Nah, I'm good," and he just like pat my leg or something. It's like he was almost scared of me,
Hmm.
and it still hurts me at times, Karen. But he's been around with me with the lupus and stuff, so I don't know what was going through his mind, and often wanted to ask him, but I don't want to traumatize him. I figure maybe in his own time.
Right. And I think everybody reacts differently, and every way that they react is
Right.
normal. It's not a reflection of a relationship with you. He was probably scared
Yeah.
to touch you and
I,
just scared to go near you. And that's totally okay. Perfectly okay. And again, to your point, if you're talking to toddlers, it's about
mhm.
boo-boos, right? We all tell our
Yeah.
kids, I have a boo-boo. You have a boo-boo. We get a band-aid. We'll fix the boo-boo. Because to
Mhm.
kids, what is a heart? A heart is heart-shaped. That's what they think
Yeah.
is in their chest. A heart,
It's
if they even
hard.
conceptualize that there's something inside their body, they're not aware of inside.
Right.
So you really have to take it down to the language that they understand, which is mommy and daddy can get sick like you can have a cold, and like you get a
Mhm.
boo-boo, we had a boo-boo, and when you have a boo-boo, you want to go to sleep. Well, so does mommy and daddy, or your parent wants to take a nap, or that's, I think, as basic as you get. But now
Right.
as you get to the next age group, you might be able to explain a little bit more about, lady aorta. Now you can introduce an anatomy that has a funny different look. It's not going to look like it does like what we're
Mhm.
about to show you here, but I think it really depends. And I think that's finding a therapist that we can maybe work with to have these discussions and see where it goes as far as the book. But Bruce brings up a very big point, which is number one, how is the best way, depending on age group, to have these conversations? How much do you share? Because you don't want to scare the crap. They don't need this burden. They just need you to take care of them, make sure they're being monitored. You know,
Mm.
listen, every age group has its challenges. My son was 15. I had to tell my kid in high school, you can't do workout classes in gym. You have to do the tiny weights. You have to do more reps. And I had to tell the teacher at school, you cannot set him up for anything that's heavy. So, and that's challenging for a young boy, you know, and he's got all this testosterone. He wants to be like everybody else and prove he can weight lift a lot. And he couldn't do it anymore. And he didn't really want to know. He didn't want to know. Look, I have to have a conversation about genetics, and I'm not ready to discuss it with him yet because he doesn't need to know. He just needs to know when to go to the doctor and to go have a scan. That's it. It's all he needs right now. It's all that needs to be in his mind. And I don't even tell him when I go to the ER. He yells at me. He's like, "Oh, geez, thanks a lot. You were in the ER this week." I'm like, "Yeah,
Mhm.
but you'll know if there's something you really, I don't need you to know every time I go. Like, what do you need to worry? I'm fine. I'm fine." I can't tell how much he really wants to know, but I've made the decision that I don't want to burden him, which now I feel like I sound like my mother, but I've made the decision he's nothing he can do for me. You
Mm.
know, if it's really important, I'm going to let you know. So everybody has their own plan with their family, but again, Bruce, thank you for bringing up that point. And I don't know exactly the ins and outs on how to make it better, but something does need to change for
Okay.
sure.
He has two final things here. He says, I would also like to see research on how it impacts those kids with special needs. And then he says, then why can't there be research on how it impacts each age bracket?
That's because you have to look at what is the benefit of the outcome. What are you trying to achieve by doing the research? So, what is the end goal? To know how it, generally speaking, impacts toddlers. To what end? Is it so that you can learn how to best tell them about it? I'm sure a therapist would say we've already done extensive research on family members with illness or disease, and I'm sure they probably have. I don't think it would be really any different whether it's a aortic dissection or any operation. I'm sure if we Googled, are there books on how to tell your children, depending on age group, or there's probably books that exist. They're just not AD specific. And again, I think it comes down to finding a therapist that wants to take on that research because they're looking for an end result, something to validate, verify, and fix. Got to have something
Right.
that you want to try to fix, would be my guess. I don't do research, but that's what I would think if I had to guess. And I'm going to stick with that as my final answer for 200. But it's a good point. You should talk to some therapists. You should advocate for this. I mean, it's clearly very important to you. I'm sure there's many other people where it's important to them as well. Um, and it's tragic if there aren't any books about this. Then maybe we should look to make one. Should look to make one. Add it to my agenda list, right, Josh? It's important. But we're going to go to Medical
Uh-huh.
Monday
Yeah.
so that we can get through this next week. All right. Did you guys even know? So here, check out this heart. This is, I love this so much. So we know that a normal heart valve, wherever it is, whether you're talking aortic valve, mitral valve, pulmonary, or a tricuspid, they typically have 3 leaflets. That's a tricuspid valve. You have 3 leaflets. And there are actually individuals who have 1 leaflet, which is a unicuspid, 2 leaflets, which we've heard of, which is bicuspid, or even 4 leaflets, which is quadricuspid. I can't even imagine that. And I don't think it really looks like 4 separate distinct tissues, although it may. It's still just, I mean, here it is. Here's a unicuspid. It just has like the one hole, whereas a bi has 2 distinct areas, 2 distinct tissue areas, and we're supposed to have 3. So we do know that bicuspid, which is more commonly seen in the aortic valve, can cause issues. So let's talk about this a little bit. So as mentioned in the Mayo Clinic's article on bicuspid valves, a bicuspid valve is it's a type of heart disease that you're born with. So that would make it a congenital heart disease. You would fall into the congenital heart disease groups. And usually the aortic valve has 3 cusps, which we talked about, 3 cusps. A bicuspid valve only has 2. And you don't know that you have it until you find it like by accident because you have an echo or you have a scan. And all of a sudden someone's like, oh, did you know that you had a bicuspid valve? And they're not sure yet of its hereditary nature, which is why a research study is being done right now by Dr. Siddharth Prakash. You've heard his name. He does the exercise studies. He's doing that right now in UT Houston. But rarely, some people are born with an aortic valve that has, as I just mentioned, one cusp, which is a unicuspid, or four cusps, quadricuspid. And changes to this aortic valve can actually cause health problems. So sometimes by having anything other than three cusps, it could cause narrowing of the aortic valve, which is called aortic valve stenosis. The valve it doesn't actually open fully, and blood flow from the heart to the rest of the body becomes reduced or becomes blocked. There's also backward flow of blood, which is called aortic valve regurgitation. And that is usually because it's not closing tight. So when your valve doesn't close tightly, it allows blood to seep back through and regurgitate. Sounds really gross, but it's like you would envision when you think of like GERD or gastric reflux, same thing. So this causes the blood to flow backward. That's not a good thing either. And it can cause an enlarged aorta.
You with
Karen,
me, Josh?
Karen, your mic just died. She's a pro. Let's see how quick.
An enlarged aorta called aortopathy. An enlarged aorta increases the risk of a tear of the lining of the aorta, hence we all know an aortic dissection. So again, having bicuspid valve typically leads to aortic aneurysms. We know this. And again, if you don't know that you have a bicuspid valve, you won't know that you possibly have an aneurysm, which means surprise if the day comes when you have that rare dissection. So finding out that you have a bicuspid valve or quadricuspid or whatever the case may be, anything other than a tricuspid, there's usually going to be a lot of monitoring afterwards, a lot of follow-up tests. And this is one of those situations where you really hope you can schedule to have any surgeries that you might need, any surgical interventions moving forward. And just because you have a bicuspid doesn't mean you're going to have an aortic aneurysm. It doesn't even mean that you need to have your valve repaired instantly the day you find out. You're just going to be monitored. So good information. Can't present this to a child, but it's important to explain that if the parent ends up having some type of surgery because of this, what does that mean as far as recovery? I'd much rather have known ahead of time that I had an issue than to have found out the way that we found out, Diane and I, through a dissection. But this tells you a little bit more about aortic valves. I know I learned something new. I had no clue that you could have one cusp or four. I mean, that sounds crazy to me. All right, we're moving on to Topic Tuesday. This is so exciting. We're so excited for our friends over at Think Aorta US because they launched their official Think Aorta, Think Family campaign. Basically, we know that aortic disease runs in families. It's much more common than you think. And if in doubt, get it checked out. So now there is a landing page on Think Aorta US's website that's specifically for the Think Family campaign. And they just launched this campaign. And as we always reiterate, dissections are rare, but aortic disease is very common. And we're helping them share the philosophy of talk to your family. Talk to your family about your medical conditions. Find out if anybody has had stroke, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, brain aneurysms. Have these conversations because you could possibly be at risk for aortic disease. And we are going to be helping to share those stories in the community of individuals where we've seen a prevalence in their family or where maybe they've been tested and there isn't any. That's as equally important. So again, it's important to remember that aortic disease does typically run in families. And you can be patient X. You don't need to have had a relative prior to you have had anything, as we've seen in the Marfan community. And sometimes when you have research studies done, when you participate in a research study, you're not necessarily going to be notified that they find nothing. So keep in mind, you could have what's called a VUS, a variant of unknown significance. You'll find out about that if you have a clinical study, but there's a whole lot to think about. And we are going to be offering a live event in the next couple months discussing this very topic about research studies versus clinical genetic studies, the implications, the ramifications, life insurance, disability. there's a lot to unpack there. Really good information. I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions, and we will be having our own Director of Genetic Education, Ryan Rodimer, leading that conversation with all of us. But think aorta, think family. More common than you think.
Yes, it
Some
is.
good stuff. Yeah, it launches today. It launched this morning while we were asleep. It launched in the UK and Ireland.
Nice.
Yeah, some good stuff happening there.
Nice.
Okay. Jess, Therapeutic Thursday, she was talking all about building resilience. So I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are about this, Diane. Here's
Okay.
a quote by Maya Angelou. I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. So she says, as a survivor of type A dissection, she's had a lot of conversations with people who just can't seem to get over her story of living through one of the worst nightmares possible. I think we can all relate to that. How many times have we talked to somebody, even a doctor, and they're like, and you're here to talk about it? Like, right? They look at us like we're crazy, we're an anomaly. But she's pretty proud to talk about everything that she's been through. And I like this quote. This is something that talks about the 6 domains of resilience. And she goes through how when you're resilient, you've got collaboration, vision, composure, reasoning, your health, tenacity. And it really gives you action steps to help you be a little bit more resilient. So for her, having purpose and tenacity are things that she tries to focus on every day. And for her, finding a purpose when you've lost your career, okay,
Yes.
when you've lost your independence to do the things that you're used to doing, things that were once very easy for you, you have to find a new purpose.
You
Both of
sure
your
do.
mics are dead, Karen.
That's what happens when you're talking for 2 weeks. You got to lose your microphone, people, because it can't hold the charge. And these were supercharged. I did my job. For her, sharing her story was to really help educate others about aortic health and aortic disease. But it really took a toll on her mentally. And I think we can all relate to this. And we just have to learn that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. And it's okay to be sad. And we shouldn't even have to say the words, it's okay to be sad. Most of us, we've been working since we were 14, and our supposed identity was just ripped right out when they cut open our chests, or it was reduced when we were put on watch and wait. And this is normal, but you have to find a purpose. And I remember, and then I want to hear everything you have to say. One of my friends at the time, about 5-6 months into it, was like, well, what are you going to do? If you can't work, you just can't sit like a sloth. Like, you just can't sit around your house. You're a lot like what are you going to do? Do you want to be a substitute teacher? Do you want to volunteer at the hospital? And she put me on volunteermatch.org. And I had actually considered reading essays for the SAT just to do something, have a reason to get up, because I don't own an alarm clock anymore. I needed a reason to set the alarm to do more than just sit on a chair. And it was a long, 6-8 months of just doing nothing. I had no clue what was I supposed to do with my life. And of course, then aortic hope comes, and that's a whole other long story. But purpose, I think, is very important. So what do you think, Diane? Like, what, if you look at the 6 domains of resilience, like, what do you think out of collaboration, mission, composure, health, like, what do you think some of the things are that's most important to you?
Finding purpose, adjusting to the new life that I have. Now, when you're first diagnosed with the situation, regardless if it's aortic dissection, cancer, what have you, a loose limb, losing your health is much like losing a life or dealing with death. You go through the 5 stages, or at least let's say I did. Through the anger, the denial, and through all that stuff. And for me, if it wasn't, I used to love to paint, and I've lost myself. The Diane used to jump in the shower first thing in the morning. I put on, as you know, carrying my face, happy go lucky and everything, but I didn't even want to get out of bed because everything changed. I could no longer, even taking the shower, combing my hair I've had a hard time doing. But when I found with Aortic Health Unlimited helping others, I felt how happy I was in meeting new people. And it was truly God sent when I met you and I met Aortic Health. I love you, girl. But um, when you find a new purpose and you adjust to your world, nobody else's, because again, you got to remember, you got to, whatever you got going around, you got to put yourself first
Mhm.
always, because it's no longer I have to get up and do this because of this, because you can't physically, you can't because of your health, but it's okay, find something else to replace that in which you find happiness. My happiness is in my painting, in my animals, and with the organizations that I work with. And my happiness is truly just being outside planting flowers. And it's not necessarily as what I was strict, but I like planting a flower and see what grows out of a seed and seeing the new life. And when I look at the flower in the pot, it's like me being put into that new position. When it blooms, is the new life and the victory that I have gotten. I will not let aortic dissection define me. Nobody defined me. Nothing defined me. You got to learn to stand up, because yes, you will get down and sad, but always keep in mind there's always somebody there for you that you can relate to and talk to. And that's why I say when you meet other people in the aortic community, you have somebody there. I mean, Karen could tell you this oftentimes. We pick up the phone, and I mean, if I may be fussing at my husband, and I'll call Karen, okay, just listen to this, and I'll go 90 nothing. It's like, okay, I'm done. Goodbye. We're good. I mean, we just do that. But it's the importance of being able, don't hold in what's bothering you. Let it out. Share it with somebody. There is places, there is organization out there. There's people that really do care. And always put yourself first and find something else that you could do better or that makes you happy.
Hey
We have a
Karen,
new another
Jenny's
guest
dropped
joining
in.
us. Woohoo!
Jeez.
Gotta love that. That's great. We are in the middle of talking about purpose and tenacity and things that keep us going after dissection, just sharing some of Jess's blog. And one of the things that she says is that as far as tenacity, which this is definitely you, Diane, uh,
Mhm.
she she always feels that she needs to constantly be bouncing back from things, like constantly, especially things that don't go as planned. And she's always hopeful and optimistic, and on most of the days, and she just always reminds herself that there's tomorrow. So if today doesn't go exactly the way that you want it to go, it's okay. It's all about having a modern definition of resilience, advancing despite adversity. So as it says here, you want your goal orientation to work towards your vision. You want to be proactive and don't wait for any adversity. But
Right.
there's going to be large and small challenges every day. So you advance despite having adversity. So I think
Mhm.
that the key here is that we refuse to be defined by what happens to us. And you have to find
Exactly.
purpose, and you have to find through that purpose, you will find that you're resilient. That's what I think it comes down to. Don't you agree?
Exactly. I
Don't you
agree.
agree, Jenny?
I agree.
She agrees. All right. Let's see
Not,
what she had to bring to us for Feel Good Friday, which actually I brought to you on Feel Good Friday. And that was just to make everybody aware that we have the aortic disease awareness magnets. And this is it on some cars that we saw. We took some glances and some pictures of. And I, give out that cafe mocha latte. Yeah, yeah. Wasn't that in song? Mocha latte. It's kind of right. Lady Marmalade, I think, or whatever it goes,
yeah.
or your green beer, right? On St. Patty's Day. Give that $10 drink of 100% sugar up and send the $10 to Aortic Hope. We'll be more than happy to send you one of these magnets. They're really eye catching. And I will tell you personally, I've had people ask me about this magnet. What is this? Because you don't usually see awareness ribbons that look like that, right? So if anybody's interested, you'd like to get your hands on one of these, there's actually an order form under Hope Shops. It's the first form on this page. You can fill that out. Or if you make a donation of the $10, whether you're international or domestic, you just need to put your address in that line and PayPal to get
Mhm.
yourself an awareness magnet. We caught up with any chats there, Josh? Anybody got anything
Oh,
before I go on?
we're quiet now.
We're
Everything's
good.
chill. Oh,
Quiet now. We're
although
really
Karen
noisy.
did explain why the time was specific. She says it's the exact time in her time zone. The sun is exactly over the equator.
Oh, okay. And so therefore that's when it becomes spring.
Right? I got to look back up in the
Sure.
chat. 4:27 CDT, Central Daylight
So
Time.
that's going to be 17 minutes. No, it's not. In an hour and 17 minutes, it will be. That's exciting, everybody. All right. Sharing with you Saturday. This was a really interesting article. This is about medical trauma. I know we often talk about PTS or PTSD, so it's a little bit different. So, medical trauma is actually experienced as a direct result to a medical procedure, an illness, or a hospital stay or event that's had a lasting effect. And so, I think this is really interesting. But according to Pain Scale, as we were just talking about that, in an article titled What to Do When Medical Trauma Interferes with Current Medical Care, the author actually shares the following. And then I want to talk about this. So, medical trauma is an emotional response to a serious event involving medical care. So, for example, medical trauma can actually develop after an unpleasant treatment, a painful procedure, hospitalization in the ICU. Medical trauma can also occur when an error is made. And I think that probably happens a lot, such as when the wrong medication gets prescribed or a surgical mistake leads to a complication. Sometimes experiencing medical trauma or PTSD from a medically related event can be especially problematic because it makes us not want to go back. It makes us not want to have a follow up. It makes us not trust taking medications or not even agreeing to a procedure. We just lose trust. It's part of the traumatic experience. And here's the 6 steps that you can kind of take when you find that trauma is interfering with your care. So, number 1, consider your appointment times. And I know our board member, Tammy, often talks about that she designates certain days of the week, and only those days will she agree to see medical appointments. She will not let it be willy-nilly this week's Tuesday and Monday and next week's Thursday and Friday. She dedicates and knows in her mind that on Thursdays, every Thursday of the month, I'm making that day up. But that's going to be the day that she secures for doctor's appointments. Doesn't care how many she has in a day. She gives herself that day. It helps her process it and prepare for it. Involve your family member or friend. And Diane, I've heard you talk about that a lot too, because you need somebody there with one of the pads that you provide in your care packages, with a pen, taking notes, because as patients and survivors, sometimes we get in our head and we're not really paying attention because we had the medical trauma. Okay. Be honest with your medical team. Tell them how you're feeling. Tell them what you're thinking. Mindfulness, as Josh discussed earlier, try the breathing techniques, try to ground yourself, try to just be more present in that moment and away from the medical trauma that's not happening to you right then and there. And be willing to ask for help. Try a variety of therapeutic responses, maybe. And if you need to, hey, seek a new doctor if you're not feeling comfortable. So I will just share with you, and then I want to hear what you guys have to say. I've had so many of these experiences. It's crazy. I've had people not share with me medical diagnosis that, maybe things could have been prevented. So I left that doctor. I've had doctors perform an exam and not necessarily be very ethical as they were performing that exam, to the point of I felt extremely uncomfortable being alone in a room when there probably should have been somebody else present. I'm sure you can fill in the blanks on that. I have had people, a doctor one time gave me a throat culture, and when I was freaking out, left the stick and then said, "When you calm down, I'll take that out." That was fun. That stuck with me. People hit a nerve when they went to take blood out of my arm. That was where it all started for me right then and there with medical trauma. So getting the wrong medication, having a doctor give you food in the hospital when you know you are nothing by mouth. It doesn't sound traumatizing, but when you're hungry and you're looking at a hamburger, but you've been told I'm not supposed to be eating, and now you have to call your doctor at home to say, why is this hospital giving me food? It's just mind blowing that you have to pay attention to mistakes. Or if medication's given to you, like potassium in an IV, which feels like they're trying to kill you, and they don't warn you about the pain. it's very traumatizing, and it makes you want to just change practitioners and not go back and not listen to your body, and it's just to your detriment. So I'm really interested to hear if you guys have had any medical trauma. Jenny, since you're just joining us, you want to share anything?
I've had a lot of crazy things happen to me, but I'm the last person. I have boundaries that I draw with medical professionals. I know enough of them. I've had enough in my family um, that I'm really good at saying, wait a minute. I think we're also afraid of that because there's this paternalistic view of a doctor. You know, it's like the doctor is smarter and bigger and better than you, or they know better. So why shouldn't I listen to them? Well, you know what? You got to trust yourself. Like just the other week, I had a situation come up where my cardiologist is retiring, and I love him. And I didn't know that. And they had canceled an appointment with him because I have to see a peripheral artery specialist for my Raynaud's disease. And they thought they just made a decision for me that that guy could just read my scans from now on. And I got on the horn with those people and I said, oh no, you set me back up with Dr. Body. This guy is not just reading my scans going forward. We're not having that. I want my surgeon to go back and read my scans from now on if Dr. Body cannot. And I got it all straightened around, but I was just like, no, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't mean. I didn't throw a fit. I just said, no, here's how I want it. I'm the person you're putting things in my body and you're doing things to, and I've had things put in my body. And so I think that helps if you give yourself power.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell yourself that this person is just a person. It's kind of like when people are afraid of, you know, a priest or somebody of the clergy. They're just a man or a woman.
Right. Yeah. They end up having this not self-imposed, we impose a godlike complex.
Yes. Yes.
Association. Well, we also grew up in a time where teachers, police, doctors, everybody is Mr. or so-and-so or doctor, you know, we addressed people differently. They were just given respect. And as you get older, it's like you're saying.
I still do. Like I call
sure.
Ben Yodelman, Dr. Yodelman, you know, because he hasn't told me to call him Ben. But I mean, that is fine. But you also have to say, wait a minute, I know my body. They don't know what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if the doctor sticks a stick in my throat going forward and won't take it out because I'm having a panic attack or I don't like that, I'm going to get up and walk out of the office.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Calmly, always to be as calm and but just be purposeful about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's helped me a lot. I've been through a lot of therapy and things, so that
Mm-hmm.
that also helps being able to use some of the tools I've used in the past, and for other reasons. But
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I have to say about that. I'm not easily traumatized. I've been through a lot, and I can handle a lot. So I'm lucky, and I know I am lucky in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So easier for me probably than some people to say, "Oh, time out."
Yeah. Time out. I think it took me to having this event with the dissections. That's 45 years before I found my voice with the medical community and realized that if I pushed back and they want to say, well, I guess you should get a second opinion, I say, thank you. That's what I'm going to do. And I may never come back again. And
right.
and it's okay. I'm paying them. So I have to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Diane?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. First of all, we all need to remember, yes, doctors are not God. Be your own advocate. Yes, they do make mistakes. So You be your best advocate. You know your own body. I've had mistakes made on me. Um, and I guess my biggest fear to where I'd never want to go back is in the dentist, to where I felt like I was manhandled getting a tooth pulled or what have you. But that was my worst experience, I would say, to where for a long time I wouldn't go to a dentist. But as far as a medical professional, they have made mistakes. They have prescribed me something I was allergic to, even though it clearly says on the chart I'm allergic to sulfa drugs. And I was given a shot of sulfa and ended up swelling up, and never mind everything else I like to say, but I ended up with a reaction, ended up back in the hospital. But the best thing, be your own advocate. You have a right. They get paid through you. You're paying them through your insurance company or even with your copay. So don't back down. Your health is very far more important than worried about hurting the doctor's feeling or what have you, because you have a question, a legitimate question. So always be aware of that, because it's especially now these days and time is very common. And I see, one thing, and I know you know what I'm talking about, Karen, is now when you go to a doctor, we used to go in there and see a doctor. Now we go in there to see a nurse practitioner. So always, they made a mistake. I want to say about 4 or 5 months ago, Karen, with the Ricky and his COVID deal, and heart attack wasn't a heart attack, and that went on again between a miscommunication between the physician and the nurse practitioner. But you notice that nowadays you don't hardly see the doctor, you end up seeing a nurse practitioner.
Yeah. Or a physician assistant, which I'm much more comfortable. When I'm scheduled for the nurse practitioner, no offense, I just say I'd rather wait. I'll do a Zoom with the doctor if I need to,
Right.
but I have
Yeah.
too many questions that I wait 6 months to be ready to ask, and I think that I deserve to see my actual surgeon or my actual doctor. Yeah, I'm really hard about that. I'm that's a draw a line in the sand for me. But I like to have that. I like a certain level of attention. I make it very clear when I interview doctors. This is what I need to know I can have. I'm probably won't take advantage of it. I'm definitely not going to take advantage of it, but I need to know that it's there as an option that I can reach out to people. I
Hmm.
just know the care that I need because I've had medical trauma. That's what I need moving forward.
Exactly.
So, but again, the point is medical trauma is a little different, might present similarly to that of post-traumatic stress, and they're kind of interrelated. And I think once I read this, I really started to get where so much of my health-related anxiety comes from, because I have had moments. I've had a dentist like you. I was supposed to have a cavity filled and wasn't taking to the Novocaine. And I'm telling him I'm in a lot of pain. And 4 or 5 shots later, he's like, I can't give you anymore. Just stay still. It's right there. And he's got my head all gripped out. I'm
Oh
like
no.
dying. He's like, I'm almost there. And he starts yelling. And by the time he's done yelling at me, I'm hysterical. I'm in so much agony. He's like, I'm so sorry, but it was right there. I just needed to hit it a little bit more. And then I knew we were done. And I never set foot in that office. I had been going there over 20 years. I never went back. And I kind of I'm upset about is I didn't just tell him why I never came back. But I ran, and it was a while before I went back to a dentist. It took some
Hmm.
time.
That's same here.
Yeah, it's horrible to just leave that impression. I wanted to, I wanted to do a lot. Yeah, but I did. But I did. I wanted to. All right, we're gonna move on after Share With You Saturday. Women in History Month. Here's another doctor we'd already talked about. Another one earlier. Let's talk about uh, Nina Braunwald. I hope I'm not butchering names. Dr. Nina Starr Braunwald. She was actually the first female cardiac surgeon, where we just discussed the one who had the first heart transplant. This is the first female cardiac surgeon. In an article from the Texas Heart Institute titled Nina Braunwald, a female pioneer in cardiac surgery, we actually get a chance to learn that Nina Starr Braunwald was the first female cardiac surgeon, made headlines during a time when almost all specialty surgeons were men. Women have typically been, deterred from entering surgical specialties, in part because of their traditional dual burden of managing their households and careers. Instead, female medical students and junior doctors have tended to be more attracted to medical specialties. And this was the reality during Dr. Braunwald's venture into medicine in 1949. However, she never allowed negative ideas to keep her from joining a surgical training program. So if you'd like more information on her during this Women's History Month, check out the link that was included in this article about our first cardiac surgeon, Dr. Nina Starr Braunwald. All right, we are almost done. We're almost done. We were talking about, and I don't know if you hear my dog, we were talking about events and other things that we have done recently. We had our first Aorta Hangout, our Aorta Hangout and chat. And so this is different. This is not a support group setting, even though we're expanding our support group meetings. And it's basically like as if we all met up at a Starbucks or a Panera, or just a group of people, and kind of like, it's a great time to grab your snacks, grab some drinks, hang out, place faces with names of people that you met with in the community. It's a time where we can just make it relaxed and casual. And it was very successful. Josh, about how many people did we have at this first hangout session?
Oh, I think we peaked at around 17. But that's like we had 17, but there was like 6 people left, 4 people filled in, 2 people left, 6 people joined,
Yeah.
and we went about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it was long. I took a peek. I could still see when people were starting to trickle and fall off. So I know it was very well received. And this is going to be happening now every Thursday at 2 p.m. So yeah, we encourage you to want to come and just hang out. And so if you're a part of the support groups, if you've registered for the support group meetings, you are going to receive a link that'll tell you when you can join the hangout. So it's not anything that you need to re-register for. However, if you're not part of the support group meetings, if you've never registered, then you're going to want to do that. And then you'll be notified with the link on how you can hang out with just a bunch of community members. And we did it too. We're deterring all, well, I'm sure we'll find the day drinkers, but we did it at 2 o'clock just so we could hang out and stay on a lot of this, but right. Aorta Hangout. All right. So we have coming up a live Q&A tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. So it's Tuesday, March 21st. This is always a popular live Q&A, and that's because she's discussing everything prescription and medication related to aortic disease. She is an associate professor at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy and co-founder of the Atrium Cardiology Collaborative. Her practice, research, and teaching is focused in the area of cardiology, and she's very passionate about educating her patients about their medications and ensuring that they know the reasons for each of the agents that are prescribed. She also strives to ensure that patients understand the potential side effects of the therapy. You can view this event by hopping on our YouTube channel, or better yet, right now, click the notification button so that you're told when this event goes live. And you can also ask comments live in the comment section in the chat. And you can also submit questions anonymously if you'd like to our info@aortichope.org. But again, don't substitute anything that was prescribed to you that you might hear in this event, but take parts of this conversation back to your physician. So we hear from a lot of people that certain medications can give side effects. She does such a great job of explaining all of the medications that are in that classification and in which classification you can substitute and possibly not have those side effects. She talks about how other medications and supplements can impact your aortic disease medications. So she has a lot of information, and we have her PowerPoint presentation saved under resources on our website. But join this live Q&A. You will not be disappointed. It's a great chance to ask some questions about the stuff that you're taking. And we're all probably taking something. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so what we have left on our events after that would be our weekend review next week, and we have our final support group meeting, our general session that is coming up at the end of the month on Wednesday, the 29th at 7 p.m., and everyone is encouraged to attend that. In addition, we posted our very first annual report. We've been working hard for 5 years. Our 5-year anniversary of being a nonprofit organization is coming up shortly, and we were able to share with you our very first annual report. So there is a PDF that is online. We encourage you all to check that out. and its transparency and its detail, very detailed. We had a lot to say. It was 5 years. What can we say? It's a lot of information, a lot of great stuff that we've done over the last 5 years. And that is a very long 2 weeks in review. Do you guys have anything you want to chat about?
Not at all. Not at
No,
all.
my mouth hurts. That's what I want to tell you. Jenny, I think you should lead this. Or Diane, you could lead this. And I'll sit back and I'll listen.
I'm good sidekick for you.
Yeah, you are a good sidekick.
I'm a good sidekick.
Anytime we have people come on board, they're great sidekicks. But I do want to thank Bruce and Felicia, Karen, Rob, and Bo for all joining us today, shooting
Right.
us some comments, participating in the chat. We love when we get a chance to chat with all of you and hear your thoughts and comments. And yeah, back to your regularly scheduled program next Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern. We will be back to a week's worth of information, and we're getting ready to head into April soon, and there's a lot of exciting stuff happening then as well. But hope you guys can join tomorrow night for the live Q&A with Dr. Kristen Watson. And I think that's it. I think that's all we've got. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. Roll Tide.
Oh, it's Roll Tide.
All right, everybody, thank you again so much, and we will see you next week. Take care.